Okay, guys, we're live. We're live. Wait for some people to join. Man, I'm excited. I'm excited. We have a blast from the past. We
I know
have
Bob. I know he's
You
here. It's
could
such
you could be
exciting.
speaking about either one of us. That's for sure.
Right.
we have the original rant master, the guy that started it all.
Doing it purely for the clicks and just for the subs and just for the
Yeah.
likes.
The
He's
clicks.
the original shill.
Exactly. I'm all about the likes and the channel like with views and subs. That's the thing, subs.
Yeah,
You know,
that's what we're all about here.
But
that's
in
what I'm
fact,
about.
So, Bob,
I think Zombie's the I think he's like the guy I've heard most ask people to unsub from his channel.
Oh, well, I was gonna do that again tonight. You jumped the shark.
Jason's one of those guys everybody used to hate watch, right?
Yes, yes.
So
It,
I got my Chase Claypool jersey. I haven't been able to wear it for a year and a half but today he had a huge game. Had a huge game. 3 huge catches. He had 7 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown. So man, I tell you what, there were a lot of people bet on that game. That game fits, absolute fits, right? You just never know in the NFL.
Well, that's curious you say that because I was this morning. I went to the store, but I caught a little like gambling, FanDuel or whatever it is, draft or gambling show, DraftKings maybe. But they were talking about the line for the over for the Buffalo KC game. Like the last, like Buffalo's average games are like 66 points, but this one was set like at 53 and a half. And you see it was 10-10 at halftime, so it's like they know something.
Those handicappers are amazing how accurate they can be.
Scary.
So, Jason,
Why I don't gamble.
I wanted to see find out what you have been up to because you made it to the heights of the YouTube Sports Card Hall of Fame and you were elected to the or to the community and elected to the Hall of Fame. And then what happened? You got disgruntled with the hobby or what? What are you doing
yeah,
now?
It
I
was
kind
the
of want to
fame.
pull the fame. The fame got to me, right? It was just the fame. I became an egomaniac more than normal, but I kind of was doing a little bit of that Andy Kaufman stuff, like doing all that like experimental art in the public realm, right? So yeah, I mean, uh, the Cliff Notes version is that all happened. I think in was that 2020. I think now that I think about it, that was like January, February 2020, right?
I think
Yeah.
so.
And I think so. I've slept since then. I'm old now, so I lose track of time and space and all that. But I climbed the Mount Everest of the YouTube Hall of Fame card community, and I had a lot of dimple and hanging chads to get me in, but it finally happened. And but yeah, it was the whole thing was surprise from the get go because quite frankly, like you just kind of when you introduced me, it was like I had like the love to hate channel or hate to love channel. People come and either they like me or they love me or they hated me or whatever. That's fine. That's kind of how I like. I like to live in those lanes. But what had happened was that happened, and then like I don't know, March or right before the actual games began, like the actual season began, is when we got to like the social justice woke. Baseball finally succumbed to that. Baseball kind of held off to the end, and then it started doing that. Baseball was like the last holdout essentially, and then they took the game away from Atlanta over politics at Atlanta. They moved it to Colorado, which was actually more constrictive on voting rights and things like that. Just like the narrative was so ridiculous, and not to get too deep in the weeds with that, but I mean, I just can't love a sport and collect a hobby that's telling me I'm a terrible person every time I get a chance. Like I just can't. Me personally, I just can't do it. So I'm not here to tell anybody else how to, collect or how to what sports to love and what teams to support. None of that stuff. You do you. But at some point, I think all of us have a breaking point, no matter what it is, right? About anything, any topic. And that to me was the one thing that I was like, I used to be a football fan, and then football did what football did, basketball did what basketball did. And so baseball is kind of like that last holdout, which is my sport I love the most, right? So I was like, here we go. We're going to be okay. We're going to get through all this. And then the bottom fell out. And I just kind of like, I kind of just was like, I'm done. And I know, again, it kind of goes back to what you said. I did probably, Bob probably knows this even better than you, John. And I probably did 2 or 3 in the course of like 4 or 5 years I've been on YouTube of I'm leaving the hobby. Like, I'm done. This is over. This is a bunch of bullshit. I'm over it. And then like a month later, I'm back. And everybody's like, here we go again. This guy, he just getting the views, trying to get the people all riled up. But this time I really did for real. Like, I really kept to my guns. And now we are 2 years later. And I don't think I've done a sports card video in 2+ years, probably, I would assume.
If you hadn't committed back when you initially did, there would have been plenty of other opportunities to leave the hobby in the last 2 years.
Yeah, you're not alone in that. You're not alone in that.
Yeah, but through
for many different reasons.
But I was going to say through your channel, because, you and I talk a lot, John, outside of, YouTube, of course. And you'll send me links to what's going on with some other people's channels, of course, your own channel. Bob, I'm in a group chat with Bob as well, and a couple of those guys in there, which will remain nameless because I don't want my stink to rub off on them, maybe. But
associated with any of those dudes either, like on live Mangini here.
Right, they might. But so they will send us links about other things going on. So I feel like I still have like a little bit of just a taste of what's going on in the hobby world. But so yeah, it's been interesting to see, kind of live it through you guys vicariously, to kind of see what's happening.
Now, I think you and I have kind of a good story of how we became friends through YouTube.
Yes.
And you want to tell the story of when you first discovered me?
Yeah, that's actually pretty funny.
I know you didn't think too highly
right.
when I got elected into the YouTube Hall of Fame.
Right. Well, and Bob actually has something to do with this as well, because Bob knew of you and your channel more than I did, because I think Bob kind of ran in a couple of different circles that I was running into, because Bob's one of those, like, he's like that girl at prom and kind of was like shared around with a couple different people, right?
So many
and
circles.
So, right, for sure. And so when somebody started mentioning this John Mangini, the Mangini collection, I think is how it was initially sounded. That's still the name of it or whatnot. But I was like, who's this guy? And then they're like, oh man, he has such a great collection. And I'm like, I've never seen this guy. He's never popped up on anything. He's never commented on anything. He's never done any video where he's talking about other people in the community. Like, this guy is so far up his own butt. Like, it's like, who is this guy? Like, yeah, he has cool cards. That goes without saying. But this guy doesn't do anything in the community. And initially, a part of it was people who contributed to the community, like part of the community. That's the YouTube Hall of Fame. One of the things that kind of got people in there was like, the circle of trust, if you will. But so many people were putting you over, and I was like, man, this guy is not that good. Like, he is not that big of a deal. And I even remember asking Bob and a few other guys. I was like, now listen, is this John guy really the real deal? Like, is this guy legit? And Bob and I guess a few other guys were like, yeah, man, he's a cool guy. He has an amazing collection. Like, he kind of just, at that time, you're still just started to like kind of branch out to connect with other people.
Yeah, I was pretty new.
Right. And I didn't want to factor that in. I was just kind of like, why is everybody all up on this dude's junk? Like, this is like, what's going on here? And then Bob encouraged me to go check out your channel. And like I said, I went in there with like blinders on. Like, I'm just looking, like, I don't want to look. I don't want to see, because I just want to hate this guy. And I started watching your channel. I'm like, man, this guy is so freaking hilarious. And his collection's amazing. And I can't think of anything that I actually have to be angry about. But I actually did a video where I kind of was like, F this guy. Like, who does this guy think he is? I mean, it's like 500 videos back or something, I'm sure. But
you know what? I think I missed that video.
Yeah, I did do one, because I got you and a few other people all wrapped up in the same group, right? Whoever that one guy is who did like one video a year, and he like showed the Mickey Mantle, whoever that guy was. And like the Mickey, do you all know who I'm talking about? The Mickey Mantle rookie card?
I think so.
Okay. So anyways, like, there was like that guy and John and a few other guys that were like, people were like, losing their minds over. So that was initially how it was. And like, I know. I remember. I used to think I even put something on your video, John. Like, man, I came here not wanting to support you, or I didn't like what I was hearing. And then I was like, this guy's great. Like, I had to be like, hey, man, keep up the good work, or I'm down with what you're doing. And after that, I became a believer. I went to the house of John Mangini to get educated.
I remember you. I woke up one day and you had commented that you didn't think I should be in, and you didn't know who I was, and blah blah
Right.
blah. And then you started watching, and then you literally watched every video I did and commented on every single one. And then all of a sudden, boom, 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 boom. And I remember when I first started watching you, you used to do those deep thoughts, and you would drive around in your car.
Yeah.
And dude, at first I didn't know. At first I'm like, wow, this dude. And then I couldn't stop watching him. I was like, it was like one of those things where I don't want to call it hate watching. It wasn't hate watching, but once I started watching, I couldn't stop.
Right.
I don't know. There's a lot of separation in the world these days and in the hobby. And I thought it was important to tell our story because we weren't exactly friends to start. We're a bit opposites in many ways, but the YouTube card collecting community introduced us. I remember you got my number from somebody and you reached out via text, and then you started doing those lives, which was honestly, I think the main reason you deserved to get into the Hall of Fame at that time, because what you did was you brought people together from all different walks of life, and we would go live, and you had me meet many new people whom I never really interacted with much before, and you would just host and bring the community together with those lives. And I remember there were a few people doing it before you. I know Baseball Collector had a small group of people. I would catch them here and there, but when you started doing your lives and they got kind of popular, then all of a sudden we were all doing lives. Like it kind of took off. You're kind of ahead of your time with that.
Right. Yeah. The crazy thing was, and I know Bob, because he's kind of been together with me from almost the beginning too. Our channel started almost exactly the same time and kind of found each other around the same time, But like you said, like initially I was just doing like lives by myself, and I'd play like wrestling theme music from the 90s and 80s, like, the intro songs, or video game intros, or I'll do like movie clues, like from trailers, or like songs from soundtracks from movies. And people were kind of, because, we always talk about sports cards, right? I mean, at some point we've talked it all to death, right? There's only so many Clementes you can show before we've all seen them all, right? And so I thought this might be fun. And then like people like Bob and like yourself were like encouraging me, like, hey, I think you got something here. A lot of people come in here and hang out, and sometimes it's people that don't really even communicate on other channels. They just kind of came and hung out. Like they were kind of like just the observers. They were always around, but they didn't really participate. But
there were jokes that carried over from like
a
lot. You know what I mean? So like there was like an inside joke there that people. I could be on the outside. I've been on the outside of inside jokes and wanting to be on the inside before, haven't we all? So.
Sure,
it kind of became a thing you had to know about. Like, not that we were, we would get like 18 to like 30, and then it was like 40 sometimes. So,
yeah, I mean, I think right before I kind of went supernova on the community and like shocked the monkey. I was getting in that 50 to 60 range, 50 to 60 people range, and for my small channel, that was a lot of people. I mean, quite frankly, I mean, now that wasn't consistent, but I mean, I'd have some nights. Or I was hitting like 60 people. I mean, there are people with thousands of subscribers who sometimes can't even get 30 people in. So, I mean, for me to be able to do that, I thought I was obviously, like you said, doing something that brought people together. And sometimes it wasn't even me. I just brought the right people together. I remember the one I had with you, John, and with Phil Filmington. I mean, that was pretty wild one because a lot of people showed up. You guys are coming to bigger, heavy hitters. And I kind of just sat back and let you all do your thing because even then I was into sports cards, of course. But I mean, I'm over here showing like, hey, look at my Barry Larkin rookie card. And you're all like, whoosh, 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 whoosh. I'm just like stepping back, So, but yeah, I think that was something cool.
Now, you and Bob have been friends for a while, right? Bob, didn't you go to Bob's house? You went to Pittsburgh and hung out?
Yeah, first Bob went to my bar mitzvah years ago, and so that was when we first met. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'll let Bob tell this one because the first time Bob and I met actually was here in Indiana. So I'll let Bob do that one.
Yeah, I was and first of all, John, I'll just say your channel name made me, when I read it, feel like I should have already known about you. So I just pretended I did know about you, and then like knowing that you had a Pittsburgh tie, I was just kind of banking on that you were a halfway decent dude, knowing people from Pittsburgh are pretty generally decent folk. Anyways, Jay, I was working and I was doing some traveling for work, setting up offices sort of in different states, and Indiana was one of them. I was in like the Indianapolis, Fishers area, which is about a half hour away from Pendleton, or it's close to that.
Yes, sir.
So I was traveling back and forth from what's the place up north?
Kokomo or Fort Wayne.
Up north in Indiana. I can't remember. Fort Wayne, right?
Yeah, Fort Wayne. Yeah.
So, and I was coming down, and I had worn a Taylor purple shirt that said Taylor on it, which is a college in Indiana. And Jay mentioned in the comments about like, hey, I noticed you have this shirt on. What's the connection there? Because I'm in Indiana too, and that was the start of it.
Mm-hmm.
When the work trip was announced, sort of like kind of through YouTube, because there was no message. Or even through email probably at that point. And then we exchanged numbers, but I can remember the car ride from Fort Wayne to Pendleton. I had to come into town for like an event, but then on my way back, I was going to meet up and get some Kung Pao chicken or whatever that was.
Yeah.
But I told my wife, I'm like, yeah, I'm meeting this dude from YouTube that I met on YouTube out here. We're going to go get some Chinese food. She's like, you're what? So I know everybody's had like this similar story of like telling their significant other or whatever about I'm getting together with a guy I met on the internet.
I almost spit up my drink.
Nothing weird about that.
Right.
I knew enough about like, I just, you get a judge for character. You have some discernment about people's like nature, and then we connected on a few things just about being a parent, and it was good enough for me to meet a dude for break some bread with him. So that's what we did, and it just sort of we talking about old movies. We liked a lot of that same nostalgic 80s 90s stuff, whether it's TV, movies, toys, all different forms of media. I don't just do cards. I love all that other stuff, music. So yeah, we just sort of hit it off, and yeah, he stayed at my house. He's brought his boy here. I've stayed at his house. We met. I mean, another dude came up from Florida. It was like a trifecta. That was pretty cool. But none of this would have happened if I wouldn't have made that first video. It's kind of weird thing. I was watching videos for a year before I pushed play on recording myself on one. And then,
well, I mean, it's amazing. From that. Yeah, it's amazing the friendships that you make on here. Just like all of us at the house during the national. But going back to what you were saying about, hey honey, I'm gonna meet this dude from YouTube. Right. So I took my wife and I went down to Tampa for our anniversary, and I'm like I got this YouTuber, and he and his wife are gonna come meet us for our anniversary dinner, and I invited Lou Rock to come, so he and his wife came, and on our anniversary.
I bet she loved that.
Oh, she didn't mind. I mean, they hit it off great, and they've been to my house, and he actually invited me to go on his anniversary.
There you go.
The plan worked.
Yeah, but it's just interesting. You meet all these people because we share something in common, and they are people you would never meet in your lifetime.
Of course, yep. And I think that's the one thing that's the one deficiency or sadness from kind of stepping away was the friendships, because a lot of it, let's be honest, I mean, right, yeah, that's true too. It was all fake anyways. It was all for the subs. Like I said, it's all for the subs. But because the thing that brought us all together initially, it was like us three, we all have carried on friendships outside of YouTube and sports cards. They're all, that's why we still have that connection. But and I totally understand. Like for the most of us, it's superficial and it's sports cards, and that's fine. But when I stop doing that, then what's the purpose of keeping in contact? Because that's what brought me together with so many people, and vice versa. So that's the one thing the one thing I do miss, because I do enjoy that camaraderie and the brotherhood and being able to connect with people, because like you said, like a lot of times it starts out with something sports cards, and then it goes into like being a father or a husband or like your job, or maybe like what you do for other hobbies or whatnot. So you really get to build that relationship with them. It's not as superficial as it was at the beginning. But it is what it is. I totally understand me doing that. It's like no one's fault is my own. I'm the one who kind of hashtag walk away. So it is what it is. But it is something that's very cool, because there are a handful of yourself, like you guys, that I will sometimes daily, if not a couple times a week, correspond with people. Chit chat, text, call, send a funny meme, whatever kind of thing.
At minimum, a meme is getting sent at some point.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you see yourself? Do you see yourself ever, getting back into baseball or back into sports cards?
There's always that chance. Obviously, like they always say in wrestling, never say never. So,
well, your son. Now, wait a minute. Your son just had a huge day today, right? Playing baseball.
Yeah, that's nice that you brought that up. Yeah, he ended up going 13 for 14. Wow. So yeah, it was. He had 3 games. They had 3 games back to back to back.
Really?
And yes, and he had a busted up foot, like a heel. He hurt his heel during basketball last week at school. He got hit 2 times with the baseball today, right in the back, hard. And so he was like hobbling around, like literally, like he was like on a pony, like little hobby horses or whatever, like riding around the entire day, because he could barely walk on it. And every time he went up to the plate, he got a hit, he got a double, he got walked, he got hit by a pitch. He found a way, except one time, to get on base. So it was really cool just to have a proud dad moment. It was probably one of his best days ever.
I actually was on the phone with him when Lucas scored the winning run. I don't know how the game. He bursted into like dad elation, and I know what that's all about, sure.
Well,
so
Jason,
play him back.
Yeah,
Jason sent me the video. He has a real nice swing. So, what are you going to do if he makes it to the major leagues? You're going to have to become a fan.
Oh, well, there, of course. Like I'm like balls out there, So of course at that point, of course, that's a different. Of course that's different. But the thing is that sure, if not only if he would ever make it any kind of pro anything sports, that'd be fine. But baseball, if there's a chance, like I've heard through a few people that there's been some really good ball games over the last couple of days. And a lot of people have been talking, baseball wise. Of course, it makes me kind of sad I missed out, because I have been watching them a few times, because I'll be at the local bars with some friends having drinks, and the baseball games are on. Right, so I'm watching what's going on. So I have some investment in just seeing like the outcome of the game, and there's obviously in 2 years, it's like in any sport, there's like such a high turnover rate. So a lot of these players I never even heard of, but there's still obviously plenty of people still playing that I know who they are. So it's been fun watching them play. But so I could very easily see myself coming back at some point, but maybe not anytime soon.
Let me tell you that I stopped watching baseball for a number of years. I did it for a different reason, but I stopped and I came back, and I stopped because I got really frustrated with my Pirates and how they became a farm system for the rest of the league. And every year, I would get to liking somebody. And they would be gone, and they would be gone, and they would be gone. And they kept selling off every star. And finally, we had Brian Giles and Jason Kendall. And I love those guys. So then they got rid of Kendall, and all we had was Brian Giles. And I said, if they get rid of him, I told my dad, if they get rid of him, I'm done. Like I have to have somebody to watch, And when they traded him to the Padres, I stopped watching for a long time. I got really frustrated. It's just not as much fun when you don't have a team. Like when your team is a farm system for the rest of the teams. It's just not fun.
Yeah, even if you're not good, like you have to have somebody that's exciting, at least enough to like warrant watching. You know, not wasting your time. Like
Yeah, like
taking in the game.
try, be competitive, even if you don't win. Like today, that was what was on my mind. The Steelers defense was playing so well today, and I said, you know what? Even if they don't win, we're probably not going to have a great season. We're probably not going to the playoffs. But I was proud of that they put up a fight and they played so hard. Just give me that to watch. They don't have to win all the time. So anyway, I came back, because it gets
Yeah.
in your blood, and I mean, I like probably cards now more than the sports themselves. And of course, when you get older, the sports change, the rules change, and it's not quite the same.
Mm-hmm.
Just like for a lot of us, for a lot of collectors, the new stuff has changed, and a lot of people, aren't into collecting that. Things change. So, Bob, what have you been up to? You haven't been making a whole lot of videos lately, have you?
No, man, it's been a tough year. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not going to roll it all out, but I'm all right. I'll jump on some live stream with some friends periodically, Tuesday nights and Friday nights. I'll make a video. I was on a streak for like January. I had like 3 videos in, and then I don't know, man. Some family health issue stuff. Some, just it's a tough year. It has been on our household as far as just I had to sell some stuff, that type of thing. Money's tight.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I can find ways to enjoy the hobby that are affordable, because I don't need to buy anything. I can just enjoy. I got that room, and this room, all just stuff. And I'm still going through weird boxes that I just haven't had time, that my dad boxed up. Buying stuff like this Dick Butkus poster that's some kind of ad for a Tumblr or a football album, $2.98. So there's so much. I was going through all my comics. I went through all my like Sports Illustrated, pulled out all these first covers, like first image of Peyton Manning or Mario Lemieux, you name it. I feel like I got like LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, Tom Brady. So Ichiro. I think that's actually in your pile to send you at some point. But anyway,
I'm still getting a pile. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Remember the DVDs I told you about like 18 months ago? Yeah, they're still here too. Yeah, I could put a little bit more effort into it, but I've always sort of initially when I came on, I really was hard on myself if like I wasn't making 2 or 3 videos a week and participating in the community, and that means different things to different people. What it meant to me at that time was watching as many other people's videos, at least the people that were commenting on my video, replying to all their comments. And it got to be a lot, man. As like you sort of, as your circle grows and people are participating, you're getting subs and more people interacting. It for many times blurs the line of like job and hobby fun, like I had to get something out there. I had to reply to every comment. So I once I got over that hump, gave myself a break a lot more. Maybe I took it to an extreme of now I'm just like, it's really got to like, will I get to a point where the only video I make a year is my YouTube Hall of Fame video? Maybe, but I don't know. It'll happen. I mean, this is participating enough for me right now. This is where a season of life that I'm in. I'm just not too much hobbying. If I'm not doing it for the right reasons, I got to take care of priorities first.
Yep.
So if I'm not really adding anything to the collection and not feeling too creative.
Well, there's certainly more important things in life.
Yeah.
And what you hit on, what you're doing now, when the card prices started to go through the roof and everything, I did a video, and because I had some soul searching, because I wasn't buying a whole lot at that time. I wasn't too eager. That's Jason, when I got into Japanese cards, because you could still get those for a reasonable price, and that's where I built up my Japanese collection. I stopped buying a lot of the other stuff. And I remember I did a video because I did some soul searching myself, the same thing you're going through, where I have all these cards, and us collectors, we have kind of that chase mentality where we get the card, we put it in our set or in our box, and then we move on and we try to find and chase the next thing. And we end up with this giant collection that sits around that maybe you haven't looked at for a while. And I did what you're doing. And I went back and I went through boxes that I hadn't looked through for a while. And I made videos on those. And I tried to appreciate, what I had that I maybe hadn't really enjoyed in a while or looked through.
And I think it also kind of, to me, and I think you both already talked about this, but I think for me, it's, when it kind of gives you a reason like to reset, right? You kind of reset at that point and kind of like maybe like focus in on what's important. Maybe like, like you said, maybe you were like, there's Japanese cards out there. That's not something maybe you would have thought about if the market didn't do what the market had done, right? But because you did that, you got all these Japanese cards now that are gonna, I'm sure will be could be a cornerstone of a specific collection that you have that you wouldn't have even thought about if it hadn't been for things getting nuts for whatever year and a half. So I think that's true. And I think all of us at some point in time, I know Bob does this too because him and I've talked about it, and and I know you do this too, John, as well. I mean, it's just getting us collectors versus like influencers, to throw that out there. But it's like, we enjoy going back and maybe looking at a box you haven't even looked at in a year or 3 years or 6 years or whatever, right? And you like go back and you look through those cards, you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot I had that card. Or look, now this guy's on fire. When I first sleeved this dude up and put him in a top loader, he was a nobody. Now the dude's like, one of the best in the league. And I think we all can enjoy that as collectors, right? I know all three of us, first thing we don't think of is how can I make money off this guy? It's like you're excited because you have this in your collection. Now, can it turn into that? Sure, of course it can. But, that's not the initial reaction. At least I don't think it's for most of us who are collectors. You're excited that you have it in your collection and you forgot about it.
Yeah, one of the things I've done throughout the years that was always fun, and I'm sure every collector has done this, is when I'm old enough to remember when a rookie card the rookie card thing became a thing, right?
Right.
And going back when it did become a thing, or at least when it reached my town and my friends, we would go back through our old cards and our old boxes and try to figure out which one was their rookie and did we have the rookie. Like Harold Baines gets into the Hall of Fame, you're going back, do I have his rookie? You're looking in your 81 cards. And, I still do that now, right?
Sure.
Like you still do that today when somebody starts to break out after they hadn't done anything for 3 or 4 years. And you're going, what year's his rookie? 2017. Let me go see. Right now people might be looking to see if they had Alvarez in their collection, stuff like that.
2020.
So let me ask you, John, because I know you've been asking myself and Bob some questions, but you obviously, like you said, you've been very vocal over the last couple of years about how you view like the hobby itself, maybe, sports themselves, maybe some of the YouTube, where YouTube's heading with a lot of the different people and whatnot. So when you have so many different, people, you have so many different stimuli, right, coming at you. Like where I know, and you've kind of like stuck to your guns the whole time. Like you are who you are. You do what you do. I mean, and you obviously have said multiple times you don't get caught up in the latest craze. Like you've seen it come and go with so many times, you just know. So how is it for you? Maybe it's just something in your just innate personality or your makeup that you just stay the course. Like you're just gonna do what John Mangini does, and you're not gonna get caught up in the hype of whatever the hype is of that day or that week.
Yeah, well, I think we all get a little bit caught up in the hype to some degree. I think one of the differences when you collected as long as I have, you see a lot of things come and go. And I'm an avid stock market investor, and I've seen a lot of things come and go. My daughter's boyfriend, he has some stocks, and he's just getting pounded right now. And he's telling me what he has, and like he'll have 2 of the same exact company and same industry, stuff like that. And I'm trying to give him some advice. And the one thing that I told him, and I tell everybody, is you're not a collector until you've gone to bed wanting to cry that you're down so much. Because if you haven't seen a down market, you don't know how to invest, right? If you got into the hobby, into the stock market just in the past 5 years, you could do no wrong. You don't have to know what you're doing. You don't have to be smart. All you had to do is pick something, and pretty much, and you were up. And it was the same way with cards. You're listening to these guys telling you what to do. Some of them are pumpers and dumpers. Some of them are unscrupulous. Some of them mean well. They mean well, and they were probably right in many cases, right? But you got to be careful listening to them. And it's what I always say: people who do things like, in my one video, I brought up that people used to call my office these stockbrokers, right? These boiler room kind of stockbrokers, and they would have these shell companies you never heard of and tell you how they're going. It's going up 500% and this and that. And they'd call you and say, hey, I want to get you into this. I'd be like, if it's going up like that and you guarantee it, why aren't you buying it? Why the hell are you calling me to sell me on it? Like, when you have something that works and you're going to make a killing on, why do you have to sell that idea to other people? Right? You don't see, I always say, you don't see Warren Buffett doing infomercials and trying to sell you on what stocks to invest in. He goes and invests in them. So you always have to be careful when somebody's trying to do that. And some of these guys might really mean well, but it hasn't turned out too good as we sit here. Maybe it will in the future. But what I was saying is, if they're so great and everybody's making all this money, where are they? I don't see videos of anybody coming on legitimately who said, I listened to all these influencers and now I'm driving a Tesla like them or whatever. I don't know. Maybe they're out there. I haven't seen any evidence of that.
Right.
But it's been pretty crazy. And back to your question or whatever. I mean, you have to be who you are in life. I know sometimes I'll get a nasty comment or I've lost subscribers because I say my opinion, and that's all right with me. I mean, I'm not going to say things just because I think that's what you want to hear or that's going to get me an extra sub. I'm speaking from the heart. I'm speaking from experience, and I'm speaking my opinion. And I'm not going to change that for anybody. That would just simply make me a politician if I just went back and forth. And politicians are people I least respect in the world, next to child molesters, animal abusers. Our politicians, to me, they're like scumbags. They lie. They say one thing, one election, a different thing the next election. Anyway, I don't want to get into all of that, but
you don't want to get me in there because I'm going to let it fly.
Well, here's the thing. The only thing you have in this world is your integrity, really.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
And I tell everybody, when you are on your deathbed, you're not going to be like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm dying with $10 million in the bank. I'm going to be like, man, I'm pissed off I'm dying with $10 million. I could have had a blast. And you're not going to be like, oh, I'm so glad I had a vice president title. You're going to be like, did I do everything in my life I wanted to do? Did I experience what I wanted to do? Was I good to people? Was I a good person? Did I take care of those around me? That's what you're going to say on your deathbed. You're not going to be like, oh, I'm so glad I scammed all those people out of their card money. You're not going to be saying that on your deathbed. Unless you're a terrible human being.
Right. No, I agree.
Let's see some of these comments. They're probably hot and heavy. I'm afraid to look, Jason.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Let's just pick some. Vintage Card Steve. We got Elite Hunters.
Oh, Elite Hunters, all right.
Orlando. This the Breaks. Jay. I guess they're just
Jason,
talking amongst
you're in
themselves
Orlando?
mostly.
I'm not in Orlando. I'm in Indiana. As far as you could probably be from Orlando. So
Picker
Orlando,
Jim.
Indiana.
Oh, Picker Jim. Oh,
Bowman
what's up,
53 in the
Alex?
house.
I know these
Bowman
guys.
53 is right down the road from me. Down in Savannah, right? I'm not too
Oh,
far
look,
from
Phil's there. He said he loves Bob.
Philmington.
He doesn't say he loves me. Man, Phil, what a freaking gypsy.
Filmington, my gold short's one of the few things working out for me right now.
What
Filmington
is
and
your
we message a little investments stuff back and forth sometimes.
you and Phil?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he knows a little bit about it. He knows a little bit about that world.
I wanna go hang out at his bar. Looks like there's a lot of booze there.
Yeah, I know. No joke. I mean, we don't even have to talk about sport. I'll talk about whatever he wants, and there's alcohol involved. So yeah.
Four Leaf. Man, we got
Hey, what's up, 40? I sent him a pile of cash. Oh, was that cash? Oh no.
I think that's doo-doo.
Oh, come on, Don now. Don over here sitting in a pile of poop.
What's up, Don? You want to join? You want to
Don,
join? You want to join
another
and explain
another
yourself?
fellow Pittsburghian.
Henry S.
Henry S., the legend that is Henry.
Hey, thanks. Thank you for this comment. T-Blood.
Kellogg's video. Oh yeah, okay.
I'll tell you what. I don't have I don't have the 50,000 subscribers or whatever, but I love my subscribers. They interact.
Yeah,
they
dude,
point out when I made a mistake, or they give me so much information about stuff. Like one of them introduced me to these awesome stadium cards. And I learned so much. I learned as much as I certainly give. And just in YouTube in general, it's just a wealth of knowledge, man. I learned so much that before, I'm like Dylan, where I collected in obscurity. I mean, my family knew I had cards and they'd look at them, but they don't know what they're looking at, right? And then, when I got involved into the YouTube community, holy cow, I'm learning so much from videos, from comments, and there's a lot of love in this community. We have our differences. There's people from different angles in this community, different walks of life for sure. Different, some. You have people who are wealthy, people who are not so wealthy. There, people that just collect 90s cards, people that want just pre-war, people that just want modern. It's all good. And even when I do some of these videos where I've criticized some people, like I don't dislike anybody. Like if they wanted to go live and talk, I'll go live. They want to have a drink, I'll have a drink. We're gonna meet up at the National, like. We don't have to be at odds, but that doesn't mean that we can't have an opinion. Right. And certainly there's some people that might be bad people. In life, you don't have to get along with you don't have to be friends with everyone. I don't want to be friends with Jeffrey Dahmer, right? I can't
imagine why not.
I don't know. I've always judged everybody based on essentially two criteria, like what kind of person you are, your character, and how you treat me. Right. And it's like, even if you treat me well, but you go around killing people, then I might not want to be your friend. Right. You know what I mean? But if you have good character and you treat me like shit, then maybe I don't want to be your friend. But, I mean, we can all get along, and I believe in treating everybody with respect. But some of these guys get me fired up because I'm just worried sometimes for the hobby and for younger people that don't know anybody better that are going to get ripped off. And I've always been the kind of person that kind of stood up to bullies. And I feel like a lot of those guys are almost bullies, and somebody needs to stand up for maybe people who don't know better.
Right. I mean, I think you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, first, one of the points you made, I thought was something that, you have a daughter, it's like you tell your kid, you're not always going to get along with everybody. Now, that's okay. Like, stand up for what you believe in. Don't follow the crowd. Know what you believe in. Know you have your morals, have your values, right? Your principles and all that. But then we feel like as adults that we have to accept everybody at whatever, whatever they say and do. You don't want to ruffle the feathers. It's like, no, if you don't get along with somebody, it's okay, right? You can have different point of views, different perspectives. Not everybody's gonna like each other. That's fine. And I remember that was one of my biggest problems when I first started, was that everybody was wanting to sing Kumbaya and hold each other's, wing woms in a circle together. And it's like, dude, like we don't have to be that way. Like You don't have to like me. I don't have to like you. Whatever. You might not like my approach. That's fine. Like, but it's just like so many people are like, oh, you're being too abrasive, And I'm like, I don't care. Like, don't watch my channel.
Well,
But
at least you're authentic.
right. Like, I didn't care what anybody
you
said.
know what? It reminds me of that line from Good Will Hunting where Matt Damon says, well, at least I'm not unoriginal.
Right. Very much so. But at the same time, I think you said something before Bob had left, and I liked what you said, was that the one thing about this community that I can always count on, and you who have cultivated a very nice following, right, is that you're able to connect with so many people. They can give you knowledge and information that you would never know or have to find much later in life, possibly by them providing you information that you just didn't know about. And I mean, I got the same thing on my channel, like especially when it came to Japanese ball players and their cards and things of that sort. I had so many people contacting me and trying to help me out with certain cards or players. And I mean, it was amazing. And it's not something that I've ever asked for. It's not something I'm asking. I never asked for freebies or to send me things or whatever. But the community was so kind and they wanted to help you build your collection or educate you, like you said, on maybe a certain type of product that you didn't know existed, or you thought you only had one of one, but then there's one of 24 different kinds, and you're like, oh wow, And I followed your channel long enough to know, John, that you're the first one to say, I didn't know this existed. I didn't know this was even out there. I just found out about this, like you just did just a moment ago. And I think that's great with somebody who's been around as long as you have, not in just YouTube, but as a collector, that you're essentially telling us you're always learning. You remember who says that? Remember who says that? Always learning.
Oh yeah, I mean, I even in my work, I mean, I believe like I'm at the upper echelon of knowledge and performance at my job, and I still learn something every single day, and I've been in it for a long time. You just you always learn in life if you listen, and the amazing thing is that you learn from people you don't expect to, and that's why you shouldn't just shut people out. Even if you're disagreeing with what they're saying, that's how you grow. You're listening to a different angle. I was older before I started to realize how much I learned from people who, when I was younger, would probably dismiss just because I didn't like what they were saying. And and if you put yourself in somebody else's perspective, sometimes you grow. You learn something new. You look at something. You know what? I never thought about it from that perspective before. You're right. And I think a lot of us, we have a trouble saying you're right or I'm wrong or you know what? Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe I do need to rethink what I'm saying here. Maybe I'm wrong. But that's hard for people to say.
Yeah, I think it comes with wisdom, right? As you get older, you would like to hope to think you're going to become more wise, and you realize you don't always have the answers, or that maybe actually somebody else has a better answer than yours, and you're willing to listen to what they have to say. It kind of goes back to what you're just saying that 20 years ago, you might have wrote that person off. But as you've gotten older, you realize this person actually has something to contribute to me or to my perspective or whatever. And you're like, let me give it a shot. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think we learn more by being able to be more receptive to those things.
Yeah, and social media makes it hard because most people you don't see them, you don't talk to them one-on-one. They say horrible and awful things in the comments they'd never say to your face.
Right.
When I was growing up, if you said the shit they say in the comments, you would have been fighting. You would have probably got your ass kicked.
Yeah.
But you can do that on social media, and what that does is that makes you defensive right away, and then you get maybe you're at happy hour having some drinks, and that comment hits you the wrong way, and what do? You fire back, or you don't react the best because they're rude, and maybe you take them wrong too. Sometimes you could take them wrong because there's no inflection.
Yeah.
Because like there's with inflection, sometimes you can mean it as a joke or in a joking way, but like if I say you're stupid, that's way different than if I say you're stupid. It's the same words, but in writing you can't tell them apart. And man, social media can bring out just the nasty in people.
Yeah. Again, it goes back with maturity and wisdom. Is the people who are measured in their responses for people like that, right? And then the
Yeah.
ones who choose to go at them, full tilt a lot of times. And I was guilty in some of those areas early on because, like you said, I'm a typical like Irish American who have like this short of a wick, and it doesn't take me much to like just lose my mind on somebody and like tell them I'll meet you in the parking lot. Like that's the kind of guy I am, and I just doesn't take much. And so I would do videos where I like pretty much would like bury people. I didn't care, and that was one reason people like love to hate my channel or whatever, because it was like a train wreck once in a while, because I would go after everybody. But at the same time, as I've gotten, towards the end there, I just stopped caring. Like you said, it's like, I'm just, everybody could be a keyboard cowboy. Everybody could be, the tough guy on the computer. If you really said that to somebody's face 1-to-1, I guarantee you, one, they wouldn't even have the balls to do it. And two, there's going to be a immediate response to a person doing that, right?
Yeah, I mean, at least when we were growing up,
right.
Nowadays you'd probably get thrown in jail, but back
Bro,
then,
that's true too.
or when you're young, you're underage, you could people would brawl or whatever. But Confucius said it is better to travel 10,000 miles than to read 10,000 books. And when I will speak out and somebody's sticking up for somebody else, one of these influencers that's been collecting for a year or two, telling them what to do, they are they're learning by what Confucius would have said were books, right? And I'm learning from traveling those 10,000 miles.
Right.
You can only gain that wisdom with years and years of seeing things, and in most cultures they respect their elders. But in this country, we don't. I mean, every time a young person gets pissed at me, the first thing they call me is an old man, or I'm old, or get over it, old man, or whatever. There's absolutely zero respect, even though I'm willing to bet I know more than that. And not because I'm super intelligent or anything, but because I've been through it. I've been through these things. And I've been through, these guys calling me and trying to sell me their ideas, sell me stocks that they're not buying themselves. Same shit. It's the same stuff that they're doing in the card market. It's no different than the movie Boiler Room. Really,
right?
They're building up these cards and then selling them to you.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to ask you those because obviously I'm interested to see your perspective because again of your background, I guess, and your knowledge. So over the last, if I remember correctly, this is stuff because I don't know much about this world right now, but my understanding was that Topps lost the license initially, and then whoever bought Top or bought the license bought Topps, and so the cards are still being produced underneath the Topps logos and all that, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I haven't followed much, but Fanatics, what they did, it was actually absolutely brilliant. They got the Major League Baseball contract, and then essentially that made Topps like devalue so greatly. Then they turned around and bought Topps. I mean, it was brilliant. Really, and they bought them at a discount, and their stock is going public. It's supposed to go public in December.
So with that being said, you may or may not know much about it, but I know I've watched a couple of Phil's videos because Phil talks about this more frequently because he's more of the new, into the new stuff. But from what you're seeing, how has that changed in the landscape? How has that affected it, good or bad, in your perspective over the last year or so as a collector? Not necessarily because I know you don't really buy and sell and flip, so I'm not really asking that. But as a collector, can you keep up with current stuff?
Well, it hasn't really affected anything yet.
Okay, it's coming really next year. Is that right?
Yeah,
2023.
I forget the year. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I mean, they're still going to be putting out Topps cards.
Okay,
and we will see how it pans out. I haven't been buying a whole lot of new stuff lately because since the flipping thing began, my local Walmart and Target they still don't carry cards. I can't even get them, and just haven't been that into it. I've been buying singles rather than boxes. Plus, I'm running out of room. And you know, when I get my cards, I'm not one of those guys that looks for the hits and throws the rest of the cards away. Like I collect cards, so I want them all. You got to have holders, you got to have boxes, and I'm running out of room. So I started to pretty much pick and choose more or less. So I haven't really been opening packs.
So, there any certain players you're following this year? Maybe not the cards wise, or maybe you are picking up singles, and you're like, here's a handful of guys that's worth kind of keeping an eye on. Or
well, you know, I love Ohtani, and
right.
him and Aaron Judge. I bought when they were rookies. I was big on both of them. I was big on Cody Bellinger. I had bought a bunch of Cody Bellinger too. Now, I mean, I'm really big on Kenny Pickett and this George Pickens for the Steelers. I think they're both going to be good. So I've been buying up those, but I could be wrong on that. I've been wrong on other Pittsburgh Steelers, let me tell you. But I was,
imagine.
you know, one of my cherished cards is my TJ Watt Panini autographed rookie card because I thought he was going to be good. Wasn't super good initially, but now I think he's the best outside linebacker in the game. You know, today was the first game since they drafted him. It was the first game they won where he didn't play. They had never won a game where he didn't play. That's how good he is. And there aren't too many defensive players who have won games. You know, he's won several games for us. So
Awesome.
I just think he's an amazing linebacker. And of course, we have a long history of great linebackers, and I've had a long history of great linebackers I've loved out of Pittsburgh. You know, James Harrison, Greg Lloyd, Joey Porter. Of course, going back to Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, those guys, Andy Russell. We just have a long history of great linebackers.
So the Steelers won today, correct?
Yes. Couldn't believe
it. Yeah.
Well, I had a feeling they might, because that was the one game that you wouldn't expect them to.
Right. That's how it always works. Right.
Any given Sunday, man. Yeah. The Steelers have been notorious over the years for beating teams they shouldn't and losing to teams they should beat.
Right. Well, I mean, a couple weeks ago, I was over at a friend's house on Sunday, and I was watching the Colts play the Kansas City Chiefs, and they beat them, and none of us could believe it. Like you were saying, like we thought they were just gonna just destroy the Colts, you know, and they wouldn't. And like any other day, like you said, that would have been 100% the reality.
Well,
the fact they were able to pull it out was shocking.
Yeah, there haven't been too many undefeated football teams over the years. I mean, they all lose games.
At some point, right?
Yeah. So did Bob leave us? He didn't even say goodbye.
I think he said something about it was like some daddy duty thing popped in. So something to do with being a dad. You might want to check. He sent a message. I don't know.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
all right, Jason. Well, we can wrap this up. I wanted to get you on. I mean, the card community hasn't seen you in what, 2 years?
Yeah, probably. So, and for probably most of them, it's been a blessing that I see me.
I don't know. I missed the deep thought videos. Maybe you should.
You have encouraged me off of YouTube, of course, and be like, you need to still do that, Jason. And I'm like, you know, if I do end up doing that, which I don't necessarily disagree with doing, I'm not for sure like who would even be the ones who watch it anymore, because really it was mostly the sports guys that would tune in and hear that. So I don't know.
I'll tell you, in the modern day, if you just want some business advice, in the modern day, the political channels, man, look at the millions of subscribers and viewers they get.
Oh, I know.
You could you do those rants. I mean, I don't know what it is. If I do a rant video, it gets 5 times the views as a card video.
You know, it's like, I mean, well, you know, it's like when there's a car wreck or a fire, everybody's watching. Everybody stops and watches. So it's the same thing with a rant video. Like, it's like watching a fire, like a house on fire or a car wreck. Like, people just want to go and see what the drama is or whatever. And
I mean, there's something a little fun about drama. I mean, that's why the popularity of reality shows with housewives trying to kill each other. But
Right.
it was funny. I did a video. I just got triggered one day. I was just tired of watching us collectors just get ripped off every left and right by PSA and everybody else. Prices going through the roof. Just everybody taking advantage of us. And I
Sure.
saw a certain video that just really angered me. He was calling cards rare that weren't rare. He was buying stuff for thousands more than, I could buy it that day, and just giving bad advice. And I made a video, and I just thought it would be like all my other videos, the same views, or maybe even less, because when for most people that subscribe to me, if I don't show a card, some of them get annoyed and leave me hate comments about it, which I
They're like, enough of your
understand.
nunchucks.
Hey, I get it.
Sure.
If you put your opinion out there, you're opening yourself up to that. It's fine. And all of a sudden, I'm just getting like view, comment, new sub. And then other people are taking my topic, and the ones in our community are pointing me out. But then I see the big channels. The big channels are using that same topic over the next couple of weeks. And so I could tell that all of a sudden this thing's gone a little viral, like as far as my channel is concerned, viral, right?
Right.
Where I'm getting views and subs, new subs. I'm getting views for people that don't normally see my stuff.
Right.
And it's even some of the bigger channels must have seen it, because it was some of the stuff they were talking about was like, the titles were almost identical and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It couldn't have been coincident at that particular time.
Sure.
But and that's when I discovered that, holy cow, like this is why they get all the subs and all the views, right? Because they talk about these controversial things all the time.
Right.
I
completely agree.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If you did something on politics or something like that, you might blow up.
There you go. Then you'll then pay me an actual a fee to come on your channel at that point.
Yeah, then you get the sponsorship. I'll tell you what, like if I had a chance to have a sponsor, because I joke about it, because somebody made a comment that I'm old with no money and no subs or something like that. So I joke about it, and I'll put it right in my, I just put it out there. I think it's funny. So
you never know.
And I joke around about like everybody's saying my sponsor this, my sponsor. If I had somebody come to me who wanted to sponsor me, and I actually believed in their product or used their product, I obviously would do it.
Of course.
But I have to be honest. If I hated their product, or I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't. I really seriously wouldn't, because I feel like anything I would put my name on, I would have to believe in. I see these old actors on TV pushing some of these products, and I question myself, like, why are you doing this? Like, you have such a great reputation, and this is what you're pushing. Like, do you really use this? Are you really? Come on.
Tom Selleck, are you really selling insurance now? Come on. Tom
Selleck. He's selling reverse mortgages.
You're right, exactly. What's going on here, guy, or Magnum PI? Come on. So
yeah, maybe he does believe in it. Who knows? But I'm just saying, for me, I would have to at least use it or like the product.
Sure.
So, all right, Jason, I want to thank you for coming on.
I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. For anybody who's happy to see me, you're welcome. If you're not, then go fuck yourself.
Oh my God! Come on, man. All right. Thanks everybody for watching.
Thanks. Bye.